I'm building and designing an impossible mountain bike, or at least that's what most people tell me when they hear about what it is I'm attempting to make. For those of you who've been following me on this channel for a while now, you know that I really enjoy mountain biking, not only the riding side of it, which is super fun of course, but also the building mechanical maintenance side of things, as well as many other things that I really enjoy building. I built my first mountain bike a few years ago. It was the Carano GOTI, a super rugged and tough, fully titanium hardtail mountain bike, which definitely turned out to be an amazing success when riding it over all the rugged trails that I have in the last few years. But many of you know that recently I've been wanting to switch to a full suspension. Not because I couldn't really do much on the hardtail, but just to have a little more grip and all the benefits a full suspension has. And because I invent and build pretty much everything I own, of course the first thought that went through my head when wanting a full suspension mountain bike was how could I build it? And if I could build it, how could I build it well? Because the main reason I like making things for myself is not only to feed my creative passions, of course, but to also come up with an idea of something that's more durable, might last longer, might be more practical, more beautiful than anything of its kind that I've already seen that exists. Now, because of how well the hardtail turned out, it definitely gave me a confidence boost when it came to creating a full suspension bike of similar quality. But when put to the challenge, I began realizing it was going to be a lot more difficult than I originally thought to create a fully titanium, full suspension enduro bike that was not only about the strongest bike out there, but also super efficient when it came to pedaling efficiency, a lightweight frame, and good geometry to be on par with all the latest and greatest mountain bikes in the modern bike industry. Things like welding titanium, bending the tubes, and machining all the linkages and other complex bits were definitely not going to be easy, and this is part of the reason why most people were saying that this just wouldn't be possible. And I don't blame them. Based on all the titanium mountain bikes I've seen out there, they really don't go beyond a simple XC bike or a Softail bike, and even the more rugged ones just lack a lot of modern features when it comes to the geometry and accepting modern components in the mountain bike world. But I wasn't going to let this stop me from creating my dream mountain bike. I first reached out to the people that helped me build my hardtail mountain bike, who were very good and skilled at the welding and machining of titanium, to see if they could step it up a notch. And they said that they could, but because of their specific expertise, they weren't really able to read my mind and see this overall picture of what it is that I wanted to create and how it was going to function. So it was left up to me to figure out the kinematics and most of the engineering involved in this project, and if I could do that successfully, then they could build it successfully. So fast forward many months, almost a year, and this is my first prototype. Pretty freaking amazing, isn't it? Definitely turned out well. But this is not the final product. It definitely was a massive out-of-pocket expense, but all of the learning involved was definitely well worth it. So now let's talk about what I do and don't like about this frame and what I want to change about it before we move on to the next frame. Based on how well this frame turned out, definitely assured me that this was indeed possible. It was exactly how I envisioned it. Everything from the non-press fit bearing design to the bent tubes to fit the shock properly and have all the linkages working properly. It definitely ended up working out well. But the reason this was not the final product and the reason it still has a long way to go was due to my lack of knowledge when it came to kinematics and engineering at the time. So I didn't really design this frame to be super optimal when it came to the geometry and the kinematics. It has pretty bad anti-squat and anti-rise values, making the pedal efficiency not so good. It's also pretty heavy, and there were just overall a lot of tweaks that I wanted to make before I made the next design. This frame uses a DW link design, which is patented, so I would have to get a license to use that patent in order to sell these, which is a little bit of a negative, but overall there's just too much going on in here and it's just overly complicated. So I did take, though, a lot of designs that ended up working out phenomenally on this frame and carried them over to my next frame. So fast forward another year and I now have frame number 2 completed, which you will see in a moment, and I'm very pleased with this one. For this design, I used a classic horse link design, which is no longer patented. And this also allowed me to kind of get rid of all that hunky added weight and open up the frame a bit, allowing for a much better geometry and much better kinematics, which I won't go too in detail about right now. I basically took everything that I learned from designing the first bike and then hired a professional engineer to walk me through it step by step in great detail, and that, combined with my added year of learning kinematics and geometry, allowed me to create what is now the frame for my soon-to-be full suspension Enduro mountain bike, the Carano Diamond TI. This bike will have 160 millimeters of travel in the rear, in case you're curious, and I'll be doing a build video on it very shortly, so be sure to subscribe for that one. Now I'm sure you're eager to see the frame, so here it is. And let me tell you, it is definitely possible. At least up to this point. Of course, after a few years down the road of riding it, we'll see if there's anything else that comes up or other tweaks I may want to make for future designs, but for now, this frame looks amazing and definitely functions amazing. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as I said earlier, the full build video for this bike will be out shortly, so be on the lookout for that. And also, be sure to comment below any questions or any thoughts that come up, because of course this video only touches the very surface of the big complex process I went through to get to this point. And I'm sure I'll be doing many more videos to come about the ride feel and geometry and more details when I have this bike fully built up and out on the trails. So with that, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.